everybody. Randy Patterson here with Boomerocity, and I have a episode for you that I am super excited about. I've been connected to Rob Arthur for several years. We've just very casually through social media, we know we call some of the same people our friends. In fact, a good friend of his is Quentin Hope, who does the intro song and the exit song for Boomerocity. It's called Roll the Dice, and Rob Arthur, who I'm interviewing today, and is keyboardist and guitarist for Peter Frampton, is a good friend of his, and with Andy Timmons, which you remember us interviewing here a few times. And so it was finally my privilege to be able to talk to Rob in an interview format. And the reason why is precisely you can just see behind me what this is all about. It's about the Frampton documentary, which will be hitting theaters soon. And I got to watch it. Believe me, folks, you are going to want to see this. This is an extremely good documentary, and I've watched a lot of them. I'll go as far as to say this. If you read Peter Frampton's autobiography and liked it, you're going to absolutely love this documentary because it goes even deeper into Peter's story than Peter did in his book, if you can believe that. Rob talks a lot about his friendship with Peter because not only in playing keys and guitar with Peter and took the late Bob Mayo's place, you remember hearing Bob Mayo on the keyboards, Bob Mayo on that famous Frampton Comes Alive album. Well, Rob Arthur had taken Bob Mayo's place after Bob's passing. And so he's been with Peter for about 20 years now. And not only are they bandmates, they are very good friends. And Peter tasked Rob to produce this documentary. It's going to be a lot of stuff you haven't seen before. But Rob and I talk about all of that, what went into the making of it, why some things weren't brought into it. It's in depth. It's a long one. So get your favorite drink, a snack or two, and sit down and watch this interview. You're absolutely going to love it. As always, I ask while you're enjoying it, hit like. And if you're not already a Boomerocity subscriber, please hit the subscribe button. I promise you I'm not going to charge you anything for that, but it helps us. It's how people like us have any hopes of making any kind of income from this. And it's a modest income, if any at all, for some people. And it just helps us. It's free. It's not going to cost you. I'm not going to bug you for it other than that. So thank you. And also send it to your friends, especially Frampton friends. They're going to love this if I haven't told you that already. So please send it to your friends and ask them to subscribe as well. Tell them it's free. So without any further ado, here is my first of what I hope are many more interviews to come with my good friend, Rob Arthur. Until next time, this is Randy Patterson with Boomerocity. Take care. Hello, Rob.
Good morning, brother.
It is about time we got together.
I love it. I love your backdrop there, man. Wow.
Well, it's all about this film today, man. So if you want it, I'll be happy to send it to you. So
that's lovely.
Where are you at home in a studio?
Yeah, home. I'm home in Nashville. Yeah.
All right. I love Nashville. I worked there for about a year until COVID hit, and then I headed back to Sevierville on the east side of the state. So
okay, cool.
But well, man, I am so glad to finally be able to chat with you. I've wanted to chat with you for years, and then when I saw that this documentary was coming out, I said I'm not going to stop until I get the interview, whether I had to go directly to you or through the other people. And here we are. So
we made it happen. I love it. I'm
That's
excited.
right.
This is great.
By the way, we both have a very good mutual friend, near and dear to my heart, Quentin Hope.
Oh, Quentin. Oh, my gosh. Love him.
It's one of his songs that is the intro to all of my interviews. It's Roll the Dice from several years back.
Fantastic. Yeah, I did a really cool gig with him in New York with Willie and Dan Wojciechowski, and we just had a blast. And that was years and years ago. And yeah, I've worked on some of his records, and that guy is a beautiful voice in guitar. I mean, and a lovely, lovely man. You know.
Yep. Very, you won't see. Well, I tell you how I met him. I was interviewing, I used to live in the Dallas area, north of Dallas
Sure,
there.
sure.
And I lived practically around the corner from Andy Timmons. And I was interviewing him. He goes, "Man, you need to interview this cat." And I named him Quentin Hope. This
Yeah,
guy is phenomenal.
yeah. I
So
love
I
Andy
interviewed
too,
him.
man. Yeah.
Oh, he's great. And both of those guys, I feel, are underrated as musicians. I feel like they just there's the world needs to know more about them. And so I've interviewed Andy several times, but
Yeah.
Quentin, every time I see a hint of an album, I say, "Man, we got to talk. We got to talk."
I did a video for Andy right here in this basement here. It was a one where he was tributing Peter Frampton. I think it's called "Boy from Beckenham." Yep, and I made the video right there.
No kidding.
Right where my pool table is now. So we couldn't have made it today. So
Without a lot of heavy lifting. Yeah, I
yeah.
remember talking to Andy about that, and
Yeah.
he's man, what a great man. Both of those guys are. So
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure I mentioned Q before we
Yeah.
got hot and heavy on this. And I want to pace myself right here. How much time do we have? I want to be respectful of your time.
I don't know. I could give you an hour for sure.
Okay, well, I might take every bit of that because I got a
Okay.
lot of questions. I didn't know
Yeah.
how many of them I was going to be able to ask. So
Yeah.
you've known and worked alongside Peter Frampton for many years. Take us back to when you first met him. What were your initial impressions, both as a musician and as a person? Tell me about how that all came down.
I was living in New York, and I had done a few gigs with this guy Mark Rivera, and Mark is
With Billy Joel and Ringo Starr.
right.
Yep.
So Mark and I got to know each other, and he had told me that at one point he goes, Bob Mayo just passed, and Bob was a very good friend of Mark's. And Bob Mayo is the famous keyboard player from Frampton Comes Alive. Bob Mayo on keyboards, Bob Mayo, right?
Yeah.
And he had just passed, and Mark said, Peter's struggling to find a guy like Bob, and I think you'd be perfect, So he sent me over to Peter, and I did the audition, and we got along perfectly. So yeah, I got the gig. And so musically, we were in sync, and that was great, And I was thrilled to do this, And man, so that was 20 years ago.
Wow.
So Peter and I just felt like right away it was musically simple, easy. Like we kind of came from the same background, a little bit of jazz, a little bit of rock, a little bit of R&B, all put together kind of in a similar mindset, And it takes a bit to play with Peter. It takes a certain amount of musical background knowledge because there's so much improvisation, and you can't just memorize a solo and do it every night. That's not how it works. You got to be in the moment and play off of each other. You have to be able to move this thing around. So musically, it was a great fit for me, and then eventually, a few band member changes later, he started leaning more on me as a band leader, And he would start to call me, Rob's not just my keyboard player, guitarist, he's my band leader, And he started saying it, but I guess I realized I was kind of just jumping. I just naturally do that. I jump in and kind of fix things, this could be better. It's just kind of where I always come from. I've done a lot of band leading in my life, and so that worked out great. So then what happens is you have these daily phone calls like, okay, today we're going to do this, what do you think? And it was like the trust began there, but the friendship really started to grow. And I just love this guy. He's a very in the moment person, very kind British man, and he's very generous with the spotlight. You know, everybody in the band gets their moments, and he loves showing off his band. And what I say sometimes is like Peter sets up on stage left, not in the center and front. He stage left. So what that says to me is, and he sings and does all of his stuff from stage left. What that says to me is he just likes to be the guitar player in the band. It's his own band, but he loves to just be the guitar player. So he's just a band guy, and he's and on top of it, a brilliant writer and singer. And his guitar playing is foremost. That's the forefront of his gift to listeners, his gift as a musician. His guitar playing is unlike anybody else, and his talent is through the roof. And I can't be more happy to be around a guy on that level. It's amazing.
Well, I mean, I guess subconsciously I kind of caught that he was always stage left, and that's kind of unusual, for the namesake to be that way. But that speaks, that's a good point to bring out.
Yeah.
What are some of the qualities? I mean, you've mentioned some that you've noticed, but what are some of the qualities about Peter that you think that fans might not fully appreciate?
I think they do understand that he's playing from the heart all the time. He doesn't recreate solos. In the movie we say that. Did you watch the screener, by the way?
Yeah, I did. It's great.
Good. We can get into the film in a second, but he says, I don't play the same solo every night, ever. I never have. And it's just, to him, he's an improv guy. But what that means is you got to pour your whole self into it. You don't just kind of, rip off a couple licks that you've done for years and yeah, great, the audience is happy. No, he's in it. So I think that's the quality overall as a singer, writer, and guitarist, performer, that people do understand. I think they do understand that, but I'm just validating it right now. Like, that's where he's coming from. He means every note. He's there for you. He's there tonight for this show, for this moment, And that's a quality that is kind of hits fans and hits the listener,
I've seen him twice. I think once was just before Bob died. It was in Fort Worth. Let's see, it was for my daughter's 16th birthday. She's about to turn 40. So 26 years ago. It would have been before you. But then I saw him again in Chattanooga a few years ago. I think it was pre-COVID. You would have been with him.
Yeah.
But both great shows, and I've missed some. I wanted to catch them on this last go around that you guys did, but couldn't make it. You did an amazing job on this documentary. Now, I knew you were multifaceted in your work, and I knew about the artwork, and I want to touch on that towards the end here if we have time. What caught me off guard on this was I expected, because I read Peter's book, I've got a couple copies of it, given away a couple copies, and I kind of expected a video version of the book, but I think this documentaries went a lot deeper than Peter did in his book. How did that?
I take that as a huge compliment. I think one of the advantages you have when you're a third party rather than the autobiographical voice is I can say, hey, look, this is what we see. What's your reaction to that? This is what we take away from meeting you, from seeing you, from watching your career. And when you're just talking about your life by yourself, it's a very different angle. That's his version. This is my version. And the good thing is I do have the qualifications to give my version. I've been on the bus with him for 20 years, I've heard about 8,000 stories from him. And so therefore, I was like, well, I got a lot of stories a lot of storylines I can go down here that he doesn't necessarily, oh, well, this just happened. This just happened. Oh, it wasn't that funny. It wasn't that sad. Wasn't, but I'm like making notes the whole way going, this is a full-fledged deep dive on this person, the character of Peter Frampton.
Was this something that had been discussed, the documentary, has it been discussed for years, or was this something that basically come together more recently?
Yeah, well, I think we like to give Ken Levitan, his manager, the credit for saying, let's do a career retrospective documentary. And then Peter says, great, I would love to do that. Rob's my director. That's what we're doing. Those are my terms. I'm like, great, fantastic. And there's a lead up to that I could talk about if you want to talk about
Sure.
that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, he had told us about his illness, IBM, which is a muscle degenerative disease, affects mostly the legs and the arms. It's an incurable disease where the muscles are just turning into Swiss cheese, basically. There's holes in the muscles, and it's unstoppable at this point. They don't have a cure for it. Well, he knew that before he announced to the world this, and I'm going, wait, Peter's a few years older than me. He was saying, this will take my ability to tour away from me eventually. So I'm going, well, I have the greatest gig on the planet. What am I going to do after that? So I started thinking, well, maybe I should tell some music stories about people. I'll learn cameras, I'll learn editing, I'll learn lighting, I'll learn storytelling, and just start going. So I started making fun little videos on the bus. Here's how we make coffee on the road, and and I started doing a bunch of Peter's social media because he was liking what he saw. I was having fun and being very artistic with just learning the whole thing, the whole process. And he also liked the fact that, if somebody strange comes into your house and is interviewing you and there's two strangers with cameras and lights, it's not the most comfortable thing in the world. It's like, okay,
The vibe changes.
let's get this over with, kind of thing, But when I'm over there, it's just two buddies hanging out. We could talk all day, and he's very comfortable, and he's very himself on camera. So that was why he chose me as director. I was on a deep dive to learn cinematography, to learn filmmaking. He saw that, and he also trusts me as a friend. So there we go.
Well, I think your timing was right on this too, because there seems to be a lot of very good documentaries coming out. Like I told you in my note to you to get this set up, I've been interviewing, several directors over about several documentaries. The Peter Asher one, the Billy Preston one. I've got a few others that are in the works now, and I mean, people in our generation, the baby boomers, I think from where I sit, are eating this stuff up, man.
Yeah.
So your timing was perfect.
I think they do understand that he's playing from the heart all the time. He doesn't recreate solos. In the movie, we say that. Did you watch the screener, by the way?
Yeah, I did. It was
Okay,
great.
good. We can get into the film in a second, but he says, I don't play the same solo every night, ever. I never have. And it's just, to him, he's an improv guy. But what that means is you got to pour your whole self into it. You don't just kind of, rip off a couple licks that you've done for years and, yeah, great, the audience is happy. No, he's in it. So I think that's the quality overall as a singer, writer, and guitarist, performer, that people do understand. I think they do understand that, but I'm just validating it right now. Like, that's where he's coming from. He means every note. He's there for you. He's there tonight for this show, for this moment, And that's a quality that is kind of hits fans and hits the listener, Yeah, I agree. It's a hot moment for docs, for music docs. And yeah, and listen, these people are still with us, and that's the other part. It's like, you don't want to do this way later going, yeah, well, we should be talking to these people now about what's going on in their life, and we can ask them directly what's the real stories. And also Peter's still very vital. He's making records. He's got a new record out this year. Mm-hmm. He's still kicking it, and there's more story to be told. It's not over.
That's right. Well, I'll shift gears here. How challenging was it? You've mentioned the aspect of being a friend and all that, but how challenging was it for you in putting this together from the standpoint of being a friend and a collaborator to while also telling, being honest in the documentary? Was there a challenge in that?
Yeah, well, the good news was he and I talked about it right away. And I said, okay, what's off limits? I'll just not even go there if you don't want to. I want him to love this. This is not about, let's do a gotcha journalism thing where we tell all the dirt, That's not, I said, I know you, and I want to present you the way I know you. I said, but what's off limits? And he goes, nothing. Let's just talk about everything. I think it's important for people to learn what the journey is like for me, and let's go for it. And he says the worst thing that could happen is at the end, if I go, please take this little piece out, we can just do that. But he actually didn't. He left it all in. And so that says a lot about his trust with me. And my challenge, which was your question, was I want to tell a great story that is a good story, just beginning, middle, end, with all the triumphs and sadness and everything in there, so that we as an audience like it. I didn't want this to be like a family film,
Right. Yeah.
Like it's all the good stuff. It wasn't that great, and wasn't that great. He's so cute. No, this is a deep dive on what kind of character this man is, and I explain that in the film. Like, this is kind of where that started. And here's how he dealt with all these things, and here's the successes he had, and here's how he dealt with post-success, worldwide, #1 album. What happens then, and how does he deal with it? That to me was the most interesting. I thought would be the most interesting for the audience.
Well, the thing that struck me too is, you guys did address his illness head on. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of warts and all, but yet somehow or other you managed to do it in a way that still maintained his dignity.
Absolutely.
And he did it in a way that maintained his dignity. There's a blues artist who'll go unnamed, who's got their thing out there of what they're going through.
Yeah.
And there's no dignity. They're just, putting it all out there, and it's like,
all
pay
bad.
attention to me and, help me and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And I think even though there's an element of compassion as a watcher of that, there's also a turnoff for whatever reason. Maybe that's bad on my part, but I think you and Peter addressed that part of his life in a very classy and a very dignified way. Did that come natural, or was that
absolutely? You know why? Because that's just the way he approaches it. So it was very easy for me to just tell it like it is. Here's a guy who's, he's got this. He's struck with this really terrible disease, but man, he's doing everything he can to deal with it, and he knows he's accepted the future. And he's just enjoying right now. What that's made him is more present with all the joys that are happening right now, and that'll continue. He is that guy, and I just told it like it is. It was very easy because we didn't hide anything. Nothing's candy coated here. This is the guy, and he's He's got the best doctor in the world. His doctor is working with him. He works out every day because when muscles degenerate, well, what do? You try to build them back. That's what you do. So he works out every day. And the doctor was telling me, so many of my patients just kind of get this sad news and they sit in a chair and they just wilt away. And she always says, Frampton is my poster child patient. He's the best. He's my best patient because he's doing everything he has to do to combat this thing.
Is he still living in Nashville?
Yeah.
Wow. Very cool.
Yeah.
What aspects of Peter's career and life surprised you? I mean, like you said, you've been with him for 20 years. You've heard 8,000 stories.
Yeah.
Still in the making of this, was there anything that was like, well, crap, Pete, you never told me that before, or anything like that?
Yeah. I mean, he doesn't like talking about some of the down periods. Of course, who would, right? Oh, man, This was the worst time of my life. Who wants to talk about that? But he knew he had to. He knew we have to talk about it to tell this story correctly. And, yeah, some of the details of D'Anthony, his manager, surprised me. Some of the details about, you'll see it in the film, just what happened there. I don't want to give it away, but that was horrible. And he really hadn't gone deep with that on, stories on the bus. But, and also the fact that he was a really big pop star as a child from age 13 to, 20 in England. And none of us really knew about that in the States, unless you were a super nerd that was looking for, import albums. You didn't know about the Herd and the Preachers. But he was a really big pop star in England. And so he had a little training before Frampton Comes Alive. He kind of had some experience.
I love that you got Bill Wyman in there.
Yeah.
Because as I recall, I didn't have time to go back into Bill's book to see if my memory was serving me correctly, but there was a funny story that I won't say here because in case, it wasn't in the film, but it was a little adventure that he and Peter had that was...
I know what you're talking about.
I'll leave it to Bill to keep that out there, but
we actually filmed that story with Bill. And he's like, really? We're going to tell that story? Come on, Bill. It's funny. It's so funny. And, it was a really hilarious, funny story. But when you're trying to trim down a life this full, you have to let go of some of these anecdotes. Anything anecdotal, we said, well, that can't fit in here because there's too much real meat, of the story. Let's stay with that,
I didn't write this down, but it just popped in my head talking about that book. Maybe it was a different book. I can't remember. I read a lot of books. But it was not mentioned in the film that after Brian Jones left the band, Peter was actually considered as a possible replacement.
Sure. Yeah, that's right.
Wow.
Again, but that didn't happen. So that's a cool piece of information from a historical point of view.
Right.
We were also trying to keep this story moving forward. And again, when you have 100 minutes, you wouldn't believe how hard it is to cram in as much good stuff, fit it into that time, that length is very difficult. We had a 2.5 hour film that I loved. And then then people are saying, okay, my producer and my editor saying, we got to get this down to 90 minutes, 100 minutes. And I'm like, oh boy, what are we going to lose?
I think they should have left it alone. Look
I
at the
agree,
Billy
I
Joel
agree
documentary.
What is that?
I said, look at the Billy Joel documentary.
That's a two-parter. This is a film that you want people who go if we have a theatrical release can hang in there. When you're sitting at home streaming, it's a different story. You can watch a 6-part, no problem. We chose to do this, and I'm actually very happy that we did because now we have this really all the good stuff right up front, and it's a great 100 minutes. of your life, I think, you know.
Oh, it's very. I have no complaints about. I do have a question though. I questioned this when I read Peter's book, and I didn't see anything mentioned in the film, and I just it's more of a curiosity thing for me. I grew up in Phoenix. I lived part
Yeah.
time in Tennessee, and but I grew up in Phoenix, and I was there. I'm a child of the '70s. I was in high school then. I think you know where I'm going with this. There was the outdoor concert that was done to film the outdoor scene for A Star Is Born, and
Yeah.
Peter was the headliner.
Yeah.
I mean, there was Santana, Montrose, and a couple other bands, and I remember reading that people were complaining about the sound from 10 miles away while they were filming this. But I'm just curious. I mean, I realized that wasn't the biggest crowd he ever played, but I thought that was kind of a cool thing that they got that crowd in all likelihood because of him. I
Oh,
mean,
it's his crowd. It's his
yeah,
crowd.
it was 1976, but why was there any particular reason why that wasn't even briefly mentioned? Because you do have a segment in there about the two movies, which I'll
Right.
get to in a minute, but I was surprised that this wasn't mentioned.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I've always, I don't know. I mean, to me, it was a symbol of how huge he was. But when you, again, you know, we're talking time here, and
True.
when you have Cameron Crowe himself spelling out this beautiful story that lays the whole thing out once we hit the Comes Alive era, Cameron kind of takes it over. Sheryl Crow takes it over. There's two lovely stories that just give you the whole feel of
True.
this is how big this guy was. And why would you cut those people with their beautifully told stories that just illustrate the whole thing? Again, we can't fit it all in there. But yeah, there's way more to the Peter Frampton story than this. I'm not saying this is a soup and nuts. I'm saying this is, if you want to get to know this guy, this will tell you who he is. And then you can read all about him. And there's other things like the Phoenix story that we didn't cover in the film. Again, that to tell the story of his guitar being lost in 1980 and then finding it again 34 years later. I mean, to tell that correctly is a good 20 minutes of film time, and we couldn't afford to do it. We filmed it. We have it all, but we had to decide to lose it because, again, it's not about the character. It's an anecdotal story, you know.
So it begs the question, well, from everything that was cut out, will there be a second?
I hope
at
we
it?
do some extras, and I would love to edit together, you know, just extras or more, or however we can do it. It would be great. And I'm not going to give away the full idea with that, but yes, there's plans to do more.
So you're telling me there might be a DVD and such coming out, huh?
Yeah, I don't know if people buy DVDs anymore, do they?
I do.
Okay, okay.
You should see my collection, man. I want it, you know.
Yeah.
But wait, you know, the highs and lows thing. I mean, you hit it right. It was a deal where, I mean, even to the point of having his kids in there, which, you know, when you have an absentee father, you know, for most of these kids' lives,
Mm-hmm.
that can be a very touchy subject, and I felt like they were very respectful,
Mm-hmm.
and Peter was very, you know, contrite
Yeah.
about the mistakes he made, and I feel like you guys, without going into all the sort of details, presented a beautiful story of love and reconciliation there. I mean, is that a right perception?
Absolutely. I mean, I find the reason why I like to put all that in there is I find musicians and living a musician's life, first of all, it's what I've done, but I find it very interesting how people navigate their personal life around this crazy business. That's a real thing, you know? You have to be able to deal with that, or don't. And you're just this workaholic, you know, and you have six ex-wives or whatever. I mean, is that what you want to do? I don't know. He's been able to navigate this. I find that part very interesting, and I think maybe they were a little, maybe the producers were a bit worried with me, like, oh, this is going to be music nerd time, you know. And no, I think the story is very important to tell about how do you do this, and we've heard it from all kinds of people. Like we toured with BB King, the last year of his life. He was on tour with us. He was on the Guitar Circus tour, and we got to talk to BB, and he was very candid about it. He's in a wheelchair. He's not playing energetically. He's very entertaining. He's still this beautiful entertainer. Great show. But it wasn't like all these burning fast, you know, blues songs. He'd take it down, way down, and he just loved the interaction with the crowd. Where I'm going with this was he was out there. We were like, BB, do you really want to be here? And he goes, not really. I mean, he goes, but my family depends on me, you know? So I felt like he was kind of paying back the family by just, I'm going to keep earning for them. And even though it's not good for me. So that's the BB King version, you know, and everybody's got their thing, you know. So that's my parable, I guess, on that, you know.
There is, you know, like you already referred to it, you know, there is the incredible highs, especially with Frampton Comes Alive. I mean, I know me as a 14, 15, 16-year-old, I played serious air guitar to that album, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
But then, you know, so if there was going to be one album that you'd point to and say, hey, if you want to know what it was like in the 70s as a kid listening to music, listen to this album, that would be it there for me.
Absolutely.
But there was also, you know, and you touch on this very well, in that there was periods of where he was unfairly, I feel, dismissed by the critics. How did you approach those contrasting?
Well, you know, what I was trying to do was link the pop star guy who was a pop star as a child in England, who he kept being pushed to the front because he's cute. He's a good-looking guy. You know, you can't get away from that, right? He's a very attractive person, and he's upbeat, smiley person. Everybody was pushing him up front, and he said, I just want to be the guitarist. I just want to play guitar in this band. I'm not the singer. Well, nope, you go up front. And so he gets the Frampton Comes Alive, huge success. If you listen to that record, it's guitar solo after guitar solo. It's guitar, okay? And there's great songs, too. Mm-hmm. And, you know, but I think it was inevitable that because he was this good-looking guy and very affable entertainer, it's just a thing that's been following him forever. You're going to be put up as this pinup boy, and it just happened, and it was almost inescapable. And it was tough because when you're as good, in my opinion, when you're as good as Jeff Beck, and you're on a teen magazine, they see this teen magazine. You know, it's hard. People don't know that you're that great. So the guitar player side was overshadowed by this image. You know.
Mm-hmm. I was taken by the fact that you guys went into the Sgt. Pepper movie as deep as you did. And the reason why I say that is I interviewed Keith Carradine, a year or so ago. And I wanted to, it was because of Peter and Keith's own career as a musician that I wanted to talk to him. But I had just finished binge watching all of Madam's Secretary.
Okay.
So I reached, and Peter's in there a time or two. So I reached out to Keith's people, and we, you know, we got the interview set up. And I brought up Sgt. Pepper. I said, and I knew it was dangerous to even do this, but I said, was that something you and Peter talked a lot about when he was on the set? Or did you just kind of like, no, let's not go there? And he goes, yeah, we just kind of went, now let's don't talk about that.
Yeah.
What, at the end of the day, what was the catalyst that you said, all right, let's go a little deeper in there? I mean, it got significant screen time during the film.
Well, it was a the record was a big hit. The Sergeant Pepper movie record was a hit record. Um, the point of that was to see, here was this guy, and we say, Alice Cooper says it in the film. He goes, he was no longer a pop star, he was a rock star. So now he's there, right? But then right after that, he gets sucked into this movie, and then he rushed in to make a follow-up album that he really didn't have enough songs for. It's kind of like the 1, 2, 3 punch of like, oh no, this is what happened. This is what happened for the audience to lose faith in him. We had to explain why that happened, and it was not, and Daltrey even says it, you're in the hands of too many people, and it's hard to navigate every business decision. And I wanted people to understand that, yeah, it could have gone a different way. And he's said it to me a million times. I only wish I would have not done the movie. I wish I would have held off on making that I'm in You record. Now, as a grown-up, older person, I could make those decisions. But as a 26-year-old person, I was not capable of thinking that clearly about it. And just what happened. So we had to show why the audience kind of why he fell out of favor with the audience,
And I'm not saying this to patronize you or Peter, either one, but I don't think it's very fair that of all the people in that movie, he was the one that got dumped on about it. I mean, it didn't hurt the Bee Gees. Yeah. It didn't hurt. I mean, really, nobody else was hurt by that movie, really, except Peter.
Yeah.
It appears like.
Yeah. But, I mean, he was the main character. And also, that's what I was trying to say, is like, here's a rock star, and now he's in this silly, goofy movie. What happened? Even Daltrey, he played Tommy. He was the deaf, dumb, and blind kid. That's pretty freaking cool. It's still pretty cool, right? He's still Daltrey, But when the Bee Gees didn't have far to go from disco music to this and whatever. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's a bigger leap from a rock star to a kid's movie,
Was there, back to the documentary, was there a particular interview, performance clip or moment in the documentary or during production of the documentary that became especially emotional for you?
Oh boy. Yeah, well, there's many. I was just thrilled that he opened up as much about certain things while the cameras were rolling. And I was very proud of him for doing it. And I could see it. I could see him just going, this needs to be told in the moment where I'm going to say the thing that I've never said in interviews. I'm going to do it right now. And I was more proud of him for letting that go and letting the editor out and saying, I'm going to trust Rob with this. I think this needs to be said now, finally. And there's a whole bunch of those in the movie. So I'm just proud of him for allowing that to happen. And since the movie's been out, since the movie's edited and finished, he keeps telling me how much he loves it. But he says, it's tough at times to watch. There's tough parts for me. But I love the film. So the fact that he can live with it for months afterwards and he's still telling me he still likes the film is a huge payday for me. I don't want him to resent me doing anything that he would eventually be embarrassed about,
Well, he had veto power, so
Yeah.
What do you think, or what do you hope longtime fans will take away from the movie?
Well, I hope they appreciate. I'll get to this. There's lots of Super 8 footage that Peter shot throughout his career that we lean on very heavily in the film. This has never been seen before, ever. I mean, he gave me the hard drive. He goes, here we go. This has never been seen. These are my own films that I made. And there's tons of things that hardcore fans have never seen. And then I think there's tons of, there's, like I said, Peter went in depth on so many topics, more than he ever has in interviews before. So that's what hardcore fans are going to love. And they're going to love to see this beautiful guy and, go through this whole thing. And yeah, let me finish the thought by this. At Tribeca this past week, I've heard this more than once where people would come up to me and say, you know what you made? You didn't make a story about Peter. You made a story about us. Because we went through this whole thing. And that I thought was a huge compliment.
For me, I want to go back to something you said a minute ago where you're talking about his former manager. I mean, how many stories, how many times has this happened to the great artists? I mean, it happened to Billy Joel. It happened to Johnny Winter. I think Elton John sued a previous manager or somebody in the management organization somehow or other. I mean, musicians don't go to business school,
Right.
And we don't. I mean, nowadays you guys are much more swift on this stuff, but in the '70s, things were a bit more idealistic, and you just wanted to play and money is being thrown at you and you get to use the starship and all this. You don't realize the label is accounting for all this and they're going to get every dime back out of you, and then your managers go over here doing crap against you or living large on your dime. I mean, you just didn't know. You didn't know what you didn't know until much later. And I think you handled that in a very classy way. I think you could have hit harder and nobody would have complained about it except the people you were hitting maybe. But I think you guys handled it in a classy way.
In the film, I think Nancy Wilson from Heart put it best. And she was the perfect voice to talk about that because she was there at exactly the same time. Hearts, they were 77. They were huge, So they knew each other, Peter and Nancy. Peter knew all the Heart folks, and they were right there at the same time. And Nancy has a really great way of putting it. And you basically just summed it up in your question right here, the whole thing. But I love to hear her take on it, and the way she phrases it is perfect. And I was so thankful to her for an unbelievable interview. That she's a wonderful person, I was so lucky with all these subject matters, with all these subjects that I got to interview. I mean, think about it. I'm sitting in a room with Herb Alpert. I mean, I was freaking out. I'm like, this is her. He's talking to me. He's been this mythical figure for my whole life, and now I get to talk to him. Ringo, Cameron Crowe, all these people. Tommy Shaw is in there, Bill Wyman. Go on and on and on. It was pretty great, and Nancy was one of my favorites, and so I loved speaking to her.
Do you think today Peter gets the recognition he deserves as a guitarist, as a musician? Maybe he does from fans and certain other guitarists, but maybe not on the fellow musician thing, but even from, say, musical historians. Do you think he's finally got that recognition?
Sure. I think anybody who knows what they're talking about knows what a badass he is. I'm going to tell you a little story that I've told many times, but not in interviews so much. But I love this story. You'll get it. So I was in a Starbucks in Nashville getting my coffee, and I look behind me, and there's John Waite. Okay, John Waite. I've never met him. Or no, I had met him, but he wouldn't remember me. So I'm like, oh, wow, cool, John Waite. I get my coffee. I go sit down. And I'm looking over. I watch him. He gets his coffee. He turns right to me, and he walks right over, straight to me. He sees rock and roll look that I have, right? I look like a rock guy. And the first thing he asked me, he goes, "Who are you?" I said, "Well, I'm Rob. I play keys with Peter Frampton." And he goes, "Oh, you're a real musician. Okay." And what that says is it doesn't say anything about me because he doesn't know me. That says what Peter's reputation is in rock and roll. And he sat down. We had a lovely conversation. It broke the ice. But once they know that I play with Frampton, every musician in the world knows what we're talking about, what level we're talking about. Peter's got this, musicians know. It's like, okay, I can't do that. I can't do it. He's got this special talent, this voice, or the special voice on the guitar. And, everybody in rock and roll knows that,
I think that's one thing fans don't really appreciate, if they get it at all, is really the tier system of musicians. And I'm not a musician. I tried, I dinked around on a guitar 100 years ago, took some piano and music theory. That's as far as it went. I don't know any more today than I did 50 years ago. But even among those, I could go see a cover band and say, wow, they're really good. And a casual listener will think, wow, they're the same as, Rob Arthur or Peter Frampton or that kind. But I don't think they fully appreciate the top shelf, that cream of the cream of true musicianship. And I think a lot of it has to do with the technology today. People don't get, like you said at the beginning of our chat, how great Peter is as a musician, the various influences, or people like Steve Lukather, which I love the picture of him and Luke together in the movie, and that kind of thing. And there's this echelon of the best, and when you see any musician with that person, they may not have known you, but by golly, they're going to think, all right, that dude's got to be the stuff there to clean up the word that, just you're appreciated by association, I guess is a short way of putting it. And you see that so much now, and to have John Waite say that to you, he's no pushover.
No, yeah. I don't know if the goal is that everybody understands what's going on and who's top, who's the best, and who's not. Because, think about it. There's an audience for superhero movies. I'm not part of that audience. Do I respect what they do? Sure, it takes a lot to put those together, and that's fine. I don't really like that thing. But I love the auteurs. I love like Wes Anderson, Paul Thomas Anderson, Martin Scorsese's an auteur too. These guys, I just happen to like the deeper stuff. Nothing against the audiences for the other lighter things. There's something for everybody. Not everybody needs to know or understand what everything is, but I think most people do hear it. They hear that this is musicians who can play. What's an example of, I think, like you think about Lou Reed. Like Lou Reed was not about guitar solos and musical changes. It's more of like a attitude, That's it. So people respond to him as an attitude. I don't think he could play his guitar, you know what I mean? It's like, whatever. But he marketed this thing. It's entertaining to that section of the audience, it's fine. It just doesn't happen to be my favorite thing,
Well, you've got a pretty good body of work too. I was listening to Cocktail Lounge last night.
Oh wow, that's a good one.
When did that come out? I missed that. How long has that been out?
Well, let's see. I put that out a couple years ago, 5-6 years ago. I recorded it a long time ago, and it was just in my vault, and it was this really cool instrumental record that I wrote and did it in 2 days, and I had great players. And I wrote it before, but we recorded it in 2 days, the whole record. And but I had the best musicians in New York, Charlie Drayton and John Conte and Gary Seeger, it was an amazing band. So um, it was easy. I'm glad you liked it. It's just it's
Yeah.
like it's groovy. It's kind of my version of Booker T and the MGs kind of thing. You know.
There you go. There you go. Well, I just love that it's, somebody is saying, oh, okay, Rob Arthur of Peter Frampton, they might think a lot of rock and roll, which, you've got albums that do that, but this one here, I mean, this is like, I could work to this, I could go to sleep to it, I could
Yeah.
have a candlelight dinner to it. It's a multifunctional album.
Thank you very
it's a,
much. That's a
it-
rare
it's
one.
a
You
Swiss.
find
It's a Swiss Army knife album.
No, it is good as background music, and that's part of what it is. It's tailored for that, like just groove. Just groove along with this stuff. We had a lot of fun making it. That's it, And like we toured with Steve Cropper during the guitar circus, and we of course I talked to him a lot about when you wrote Green Onions, what was the objective? He goes, we're just trying to write a dance record. That's it. That's what it was. So okay, and we don't hear Green Onions as a dance song now because we don't. That's not our dance music today. But music can be made for all kinds of reasons.
Yeah.
And I love instrumental records. And Peter and I have done. He's done instrumental records that I was a big part of, and I love doing instrumental music with him. Oh my God, that's so fun.
Well, your artwork is nothing to sneeze at either. In fact, I'm saving my pennies. I want to buy one of your prints. I don't
Nice.
care which one. They're beautiful, man. I
Thank you,
love what
brother.
you do on that. Has that been a pretty successful enterprise for you, or is that just something that every once in a while you sell one?
Well, it was never meant to be shown. I do it just for myself. When you travel as much as I do, you really can't drag around a lot of oil paints with you because
True.
it takes 14 days to dry each layer. So watercolors made sense. And I like to sketch, and so I started learning watercolors along the way, and then after a while, I got pretty good at it, and then when I made my first website, I was like, well, what do I put on here? Everything's talking about, here's my music, it's all typed, and I need some photos, I need some visuals. And I said, well, it doesn't cost anything to put a page where I just throw this artwork up there. And that's all I was thinking. I'll just throw them on there. That's it. Well, all of a sudden people are going, we love it, I'm like, okay, well, if people like it, I'll sell this stuff, It's not. It was never intended to be a business. It's just for me to blow off some steam,
Yeah.
And I guess people like it. So
Well, you're in good company. Of course, Ronnie Wood, that everybody knows about, but the late Kim Simmons. In fact, I'll be talking to his wife,
Tony
the second
Bennett.
time later. Yeah, Tony Bennett. Who else? There was somebody else that just came to mind. But
Well, there's a friend of mine, Michael Cardelloni, who's the drummer for Skinnerd. He's a good friend of mine, and I met him at an art showing. That's how I met him.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then
Very
we've been
cool.
friends ever since. That was 25 years ago. We were like, hey, you do art and you do art, and we're in bands together, and we've been friends ever since. Yeah.
So before we wrap this up, I got to ask you who. This is a two-parter. Who is commanding your attention as an artist, and who is commanding Peter's attention as an artist?
Okay, we were just talking about art. What kind of
No,
artist?
I'm sorry. You're right. Let me clarify. Musicians. Which is there anybody coming up to the ranks, maybe 10, 20, 30 years younger, or somebody just new coming into the fray, so to speak, that you're very impressed with? And the same question goes for Peter.
Well, I really of things. I know he was a huge Tom Morello audio slave guy for a while, and therefore he got Tom Morello to play on his record recently, and they become friends. And what a cool! So him reaching to younger people, and he also had her on his record, HER. She's a phenomenal guitarist, and I've done shows with him where she was on the show, and she blew my mind. So she was great. I'm going to say this one for me. It's this guy Charlie Puth is pretty together, you know. And I'm going to play with Kenny Loggins on the 4th of July, and we just did some rehearsal with Kenny 2 weeks ago, and Kenny and Michael McDonald and Charlie Puth collaborated on a song, and it's really, really, really fun to play, and we're doing it. And it was really cool, and I'm like, this guy's a badass, and Kenny's like, no, he's so great, he's the greatest, and Michael and me, we were over the moon, because the guy was kind of like what we were, but just in a new, different way, and so that guy's pretty cool. You know, yeah, there's my guy.
Two questions I thought of that I want to cram in before my last one. I noticed Peter's guitars in there. I seem to remember him having out on social media a couple years ago that he was selling some of them. He didn't have to sell off a bunch of stuff, did he? Was that just more kind of a closet cleaning type thing?
Yeah. I think he wants guitars to be played, and he probably wasn't reaching for those guitars, and said he probably made the rule like some guitarists, not all, make
not that
like,
little
okay,
black one that he's
if I haven't picked it up in 15 years, maybe I should give it to somebody who would play it more. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
No, he's not hurting. Believe me. So.
Good. I like to hear that. This is going to sound selfish, but is he going to be doing any more touring, or is he pretty much done with that now?
I'm not sure. He's had some more health stuff that had to be dealt with this year, and that kind of ruled out a summer tour this summer. I'm not sure. He tends to rally and go, okay, let's go. Let's do it. And I would love for that to happen. I just can't. There's no plans for that. He's dealing with stuff, but like I said, he rallies and goes, okay, I can do this. Let's book some stuff. I would love for that to happen. You know?
You put your gigs up on your website, don't you? That you do, or is that just pretty?
Not on my website, really. I usually just social media, stuff, but
Okay, all right. Well, I'll keep an eye on that, because I do want to catch you in person and maybe be able to shake hands with you and
yeah,
fun
that'd
stuff.
be great, man.
So, final question: what's one lesson you've learned from Peter, and what's one lesson you feel like he's learned from you in all the
That's
years
a good
you've
question.
met?
Wow. Okay. The harder one is what's the lesson he learned from me, which I'd have to give that a little thought. I've learned a lot of lessons from Peter. I would say the biggest one is, not the biggest one. The one that comes to my mind right now is, this is how you approach your music. This is how you do it. And I watch all the elements of what he does, which is, let's get the mix just right on stage. If that's not perfect, we're not going to play our best. Some bands go up there and they go, okay, chink, 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 let's go. He sits there and goes, look, we have to all be happy for this to make sense to us. Mm-hmm. Because if it doesn't make sense to us, we can't show them our best. So his perfectionism as a music maker is I'd never seen anything like it before with all the people I've worked with. He's so good at that. So that's a huge takeaway. I could give you 10 more answers that are personal, but that's the first one that came to mind. One thing he could learn from me, boy, he kind of knows what he's doing. I guess I'm stumped, because I know let me just put it this way. I know he appreciates what I bring to his band, to his life, to his dream, his goals. So I know he appreciates everything that I bring to him. And therefore there's a trust that's been built over 20 years. And that's why I'm here talking about the film that I made with Peter Frampton. So I can only put it that way because I can't speak for him. You'd have to ask him.
Understand. Well, I hope I get to someday because he's still on my bucket list of people I want to interview. That's, to me, if I interviewed him and I interviewed no one else after that, I'm good. So.
Randy, it's a super pleasure talking to you. This is a really fun interview. So thank you so much.
Well, likewise. Thanks for making that happen, and hopefully we can bump elbows in person sometime soon. I keep an eye on your social media, and if there's ever anything you're working on that you'd like the word to help getting the word out, please. My door is always open to you, and
absolutely.
Let's stay in touch and let's have some fun, man.
I love it. Good last
Take care.
Let's have some fun, man.
Yeah. Stay safe, and I know you're going to have tremendous success with this documentary. You did a phenomenal job.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
All right. Take care, my friend.
Take care. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye. This has been another fun-filled episode of Boomerocity with your host and producer, Randy Patterson. The theme song for Boomerocity is Roll the Dice and is recorded and used by permission from Quentin Hope. Quentin is spelled Quinten, and Hope is H-O-P as in Paul, E. And you can find out more about Quentin Hope and his music at quintenhope.com. Post-production is done by Cardinal Sins Productions. The Boomerocity name, logo, and content is copyright protected. Segments may only be used with written permission by Boomerocity and/or its assignees. Inquiries should be directed to input@boomerocity.com. Copyright 2026.